Let's switch my brain to English now. The one about Titanic and metrics and why Jack fit in the log. So it's just a words joke, right? It's a log by log, like what we understand by log, and the other meaning of log, that it's why Jack didn't fit in. How many of you have implemented, well, you know who am I? So how many of you have implemented observability in the last years? Sorry, I will rephrase the question. How many of you have suffered implementing observability in the last years? Okay, so you are with me because I'm talking about my miseries. My miseries are my workmates here. We are currently in the misery suffering implementing the observability platform. And how many of you have a commercial version of our observability platforms? Grafana Stack, Grafana Cloud, Dynatrace. Everyone is, no? Everyone is, okay, fine. It's fine, but you know, you have your CFO, your CTO, just saying costs, budget, just stay in budget. First things first, what is observability? What do we understand by observability, right? So those are, well, someone said my age there, and I laughed. You say that 20 years ago, I've been working in IT. We used to have monitoring. Okay, monitoring is just you have your standalone, your product, and you were monitoring that. And you have your logs, your metrics. You were monitoring stuff, right? Even you could find some anomalies in your registries and your stuff. Anomaly detection. That was like 7 years ago, 10 years ago. But then we have this, everyone moving to microservices, everyone moving to containers, everyone moving to something else. And you need something more. So we are talking about Titanic. We have an iceberg. Okay, so monitoring is something that you see that is like reactive. Okay, something happens in your system, you know what is happening, you fix it. What is observability? What do we need? And why do we need observability now? Because we need more insights. We need traceability. Observability allows us to do the prevention. Okay, it's not only the when and what is happening, but it's why and how. Why do I have this problem in production? What is happening that? When? But most of all, how is it happening? Can I prevent it? So it's more of proactive way of dealing with metrics, traces, and logs. Do you understand that it's not, English is not my first language. You realize that, right? If I switch to something else, that's, just remember. So what is it? What is monitoring? Measuring and reporting, okay? It's pretty easy. It was like, my system's health, how is it? Is it fine? It is not. I have my Grafana, my dashboard, everything with visibility, okay. But observability is about collecting metrics, collecting events, collecting traces, it enables you to do a deep investigation, to do traceability. That's what observability is. And something that is important, well, the distributed systems with microservices architectures. That's really important. That's actually what make the system or the industry move on to observability. Once that we see that all this growth of microservices was getting out of hand. What is the main focus of them? So observability focuses on investigating the root cause of anomalous system effects. The root cause. So you do the troubleshooting. You have all the traceability. You have what is happening, what is triggering your defect, and what is the effect on your user, your consumer, your client, whatever you have. While the main focus of monitoring is just collecting data to identify afterwards what is happening or what have happened, a postmortem, right? So right now, nowadays, we have both systems usually. We have the monitoring and we have the observability. We have both because we need to be reactive and we need to be proactive as well. Esto va para atrás. So what is cardinality? A pain. No idea. No one knows what cardinality is. Do you remember, I think it was like in bachiller, like in high school, you have something called Cartesian products. Do you remember that? Just multiplying one set for another set. That's cardinality, more or less. More or less, okay? Cardinality is actually the amount. So we have something called TSDB. No? Time series database. Time series. We have a metric, and that metric has several labels, which is the endpoint, which is the IP, which is the client IP, which is whatever, right? One metric is the set of metric names actually, and the other one is the set of labels. You have to multiply that. So one metric can have n different time series in your database, can generate n-esim number of time series in your database. That's cardinality. You have to think that you don't have only one metric, but you have the number of one metric as many times as you have labels. Okay, you have to multiply those of them. If you work, if you work back in the day with Oracle, with any SQL, you have something called Cartesian products. And that, if you have been at DBA at some point, like me, like myself, it was a problem, a huge problem if you have a Cartesian product in your database. What do we mean by high cardinality? We know what cardinality is when we multiply the number of labels by the number of metrics, but what is high cardinality? When we don't know the amount of time series that are going to be generated in our system. That's high cardinality. We don't know the growth of our systems. We don't know how many can I generate, how many can I handle. I get a problem in my Prometheus collector out of memory, out of something. Okay, we have something in our systems, in our infrastructure, that is getting out of resources. And that's due to high cardinality. But Almu, why is high cardinality a problem? Can I ask my CTO, any CFO here? FinOps? No? Okay. We're free. Woohoo! No FinOps. No FinOps, really? Okay, great. We can talk about visas. Well, can you just put the, okay. So why is high cardinality a problem? Because, as I said, we get out of hand. So the metrics get out of hand. You don't know how it's going to grow. So if you're in a commercial tool like Dynatrace or like Grafana Cloud, you are going to pay in unicorn blood. Okay, it's here, you have my liver. Well, it has a bit of calimocho, but you have my liver. And if you run your own system, you need to increase the number of collectors, processors, whatever, in your infrastructure. And besides that, you need to have a team that just looks into your data, looks into your platform, looks into your infrastructure of observability. Because, and this is a mantra for everyone, observability is critical in your system, in your solution, okay? If you don't have observability, there are no alerts, there are no monitoring, there are nothing. Well, it's not a problem. Sometimes you don't want to see the alerts. You need the customer to call you and say, oh, this is failing. Oh, right, yes, really? No, you don't want that. So why is that a problem? If you have one system, pretty easy. You don't have any problems, yeah? And I keep going down. But when you implement microservices and you implement Kubernetes, that is a problem in itself. You have this kind of, you don't know how many pods, how many clusters, how many you are going to get because, magic is Kubernetes. So you have a high cardinality problem there. You don't know what you are going to get to, so you have to do something. The importance in Kubernetes is actually that what I said, that you don't, do you remember that mantra when we moved like 15 years ago, the DevOps culture? Yeah. That pets are now cattle. Yeah. You have pods with a tag, P1, B, C2, C, Fifi, and double, you see? The echo one. So you don't know, it's cattle. You don't know the names, you don't know anything. And actually they die, and they are like cockroaches, right? You try to kill them, and they reproduce. So that's really important, just to have the observability, the labels, and them. Because all those labels that you're going to create, depending on the name of your whatever, of your services, they are going to shatter all your iceberg. And you're not going to have only one iceberg, you will have 1,000 of icebergs, right? So Titanic will, well, you know what. So that's really important. It's important in Kubernetes. So you're with me, right? Yeah, still with me. Now it's an interesting part. It's a maths part. Dun-dun-dun. Do you remember how to multiply? Because sometimes I don't remember. But well, this is an example, right? So you have 2,000 VM hosts in a traditional monolith solution, traditional but big, 5 services, 5 HTTP status codes, including an IMA bag, 4 environments, and you have a cardinality of 20,000. But, Kubernetes is solving my problems. You have 10,000 pods. It's solving my problems. I'm resilient. Woohoo! You have 2 availability zones. Only 2? 3. 3 minimum for things like Mongo, NATS, whatever that. You need 3 availability zones. 2 regions. You don't only have redundancy, you have as well, geo-replication, sorry. You have 50 services, that is, you have more users and you have 50 services, but you still have the HTTP status codes 5, 4 environments, 10 versions, 2 clusters. Cardinality, woohoo! A lot of zeros. That's for my CTO and for my CFO. That I need the visa, please. I need visa. I think I need visa. But why does it matter? Why? Can I have an infinity infrastructure? No? 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 He says no. Almu, you have to adjust to the budget. Hey, that's a new mantra. What do you have to do? Adjust to the budget. That's a problem. That's a problem because, as I said, the first motto of the day is that observability is a critical part of your infrastructure. You need a 24/7 infrastructure monitoring, observability. You don't have to miss it. Well, if you want to not have alerts, if you want the complaints of your customers, it's okay. But it does matter, right? So that's why you need a performance engineer in the house. We are not that many, right? You need to have a concept of modeling, simulating, if my teacher in the university hears me now, simulating how the trend is going to grow, to increase over time, depending on the product cardinality that you have. So you have a sizing and a cost modeling. You're going to say that in 6 months, we're going to reach those 800 million labels and metrics, and it's going to be a problem because we don't have memory, we don't have storage, and then you ask for, I said, the CFO, the CTO, but now it's the CISO. Oh my God, the security guy. How much retention do I need in my data? And he says, it's personal data, you need 1 year, 2 years. I just, okay, bye. Drop mic, no. So you need to size and do everything. That's my handwriting. It's amazing, right? It's amazing. So you have the cardinality, and you know the active series metrics. You can read it, right? It's amazing handwriting. You have the number of active series metrics, and then you have something that is important. The data points per minute. So let me do an experiment. Okay, let's have fun, a bit of fun. Well, not much, but a bit. Everyone has to say, do you have your handy at hand? Your mobile phone? Because I was going to ask for clocks, but I don't think that people have clocks anymore. So please, everyone allowed, say the second we are in. Everyone allowed, yes, noise, I need noise. The second. So you see, we create noise, right? We create noise because we have the second. Can you say the hour that we are in?
10.
Great. Experiment worked. As intended. So we have different data points per minute. So you can have a metric of epoch time in milliseconds and say, why do I have this in milliseconds if we are only checking for the minute? Why? It's just a question. So I can just reduce the data points. I will talk about it later, because I will give an example that my CTO, my CFO will love it. Okay, and that will just imply the scrape interval, okay? So it's direct. And that implements, it's implying directly the sizing and the cost of your infrastructure. How many data series you have, how many TSDB metrics you have, entries you have. It will just impact straight in your sizing and your costs. And you will have your CTO and CFO happy. Hey, I'm not just wasting money away. And that's Leo DiCaprio. It's the same. It's not the same film, but okay, so one of the things that is important is I've been talking about infrastructure, I've been talking about cost and sizing and all that stuff, but it's visibility. How do you know I have high cardinality? If I don't make it visible, if I don't create a Grafana of it, a dashboard of it, maybe some people will miss it. That we have a problem, guys. We have a huge problem there. We have huge problems. And we have to sort it out. Well, maybe now it's not a problem because our infrastructure is ready and it's oversized. It's okay. But in 8 months' time, we will have a problem. And that's why we create visibility. And we have to talk about the team. Because observability is something. No, it's not going to rain inside, right? So observability is something that it's for all of us, right? It's part of the solution, it's part of the product, it's part of the business. The stakeholders should be everyone. Because it gives you a trend, business-wise, it gives you a trend in the operations, it gives you a trend of everything. So observability is not only because I talk about it, but it should be, we should be stakeholders of all the observability. But you need a dedicated team for it, right? At least to all this stuff. That's why, like a couple of years ago, someone created and said, oh, let's welcome the platform engineering. Woo! Any platform engineering here? No? Platform engineering there. You're hiding. There we have a platform engineering. Good for you. So this is your day-to-day basis and your miseries, right? It's like what I suffered. Of course, the team, the squad, the product team is a stakeholder of observability, but someone has to look into it on a daily basis like, okay, you're doing something wrong, please just fix it and remove some labels. Someone has to look into what is our data infrastructure, data architecture, what is the volume, how much I'm going to reach, how much more I'm going to grow and increase. The velocity, of course, we want queries to be fast enough. Okay, my time is limited. I want to be at home playing video games, so I want my queries to go fast. The viscosity, I said before, the guy in security is going to tell us, oh, you need 2 years of retention, and it's going to say, we have to do something to have 2 years of retention. And of course, which are the venues, the sources? Because it's not only us, the solution is a complex giverish of microservices. We can have 1,000, no, not 1,000, but 200 microservices in a solution, in a big solution, or even in a tiny solution in an app. So you have to look about that and to standardize all the metrics across. How do you standardize with a standard in the industry, like Prometheus? Prometheus is a standard. You can use Prometheus metrics. You can use as well Victoria metrics, but let's talk about Prometheus because I think it's more standard nowadays in the industry. And with Prometheus metrics, you can, of course, configure it, and I'm going to, okay, this one. You can configure scrape intervals, the exporters, the target allocator. You have a pipeline where you can do a lot of stuff. You can transform, you can export, you can collect, you can do a lot of stuff in that pipe. How many of you are familiar with Prometheus? So if I ask any of you for a PromQL to say a count over time something? No, the other one. The other one. Okay. With Prometheus, we have, with Prometheus comes a language that is amazing, that is marvelous, that it should die, that it's PromQL. Because we have CustoQL, KibanaQL, and now PromQL, and let's SheetQL, right? But we have the old SQL should be back at some point, but well, whatever. So we have dashboards and alerts, because we are doing this for the alerts, actually. We want someone to say, hey, you have a problem. I don't want to be looking all the time to my dashboards. I want something to say, something is going wrong, or it's going to be wrong at some point. And you have all those dashboards and alerts and recording rules in Prometheus. Right? You're with me still, right? The platform guys, is it okay? I'm talking, it's fine, right? It's our messages, right? Love. Much love. We will talk afterwards. But of course, it's production, it's chaos. I love talking about chaos. It's going to fail. Because it doesn't fail, you don't have... a friend of mine told me before that if Titanic wouldn't have sunk, we wouldn't have a film. So if our metric and observability system don't fail, we don't have anything to talk about. What I'm going to do on the weekends. So it's going to fail, right? Our system is going to fail. That's why we get paid. To fix it, to do something, a refactoring, oh my God, a new refactoring. So, to upgrade a version, so we have root cause analysis, postmortem, root cause. So what metrics are being used to identify and root cause issues? What metrics are we going to use? Are we going to use the latency in etcd in the Kubernetes? Nope, we are not going to do that. But are we going to use the latency in our API servers? Yes. Are we going to use the latency in our ingress, in our Nginx, for example? Yes. But in an etc? I haven't heard of anyone using it, and I have been asking a lot. Are you using etc? Are you using etc? I will be in the, afterwards, during the break, I will be talking about you, but are you using etc? It's my question. So you have to know what are your most important metrics, right? Once that you know what is important, you can drop the others and make your CTO happy. Oh, I'm the king of, well, I'm the queen of the world. I'm dropping the stuff. I can get a raise in my pay. If I drop this, just put it in my wage, okay? So reducing cardinality. We can drop metrics, but we cannot only drop them. We can aggregate them. We can filter them. We can do more stuff rather than only drop. That's what we can do, what we can aggregate. Or we need to know which labels values have high cardinality. Do I need those labels? Do I need the IPs of the target IP of a service mesh that goes to all the IPs in Amazon Web Services? Do I need that? Nah. I will ask you again. Any one of you have used target IP? Or port? Yes, I filter by port. Who? Not going to say anything. So what labels can we remove? Those that have high cardinality. But we are going to fail. Or there's no there's nothing to talk about. And we have to know how we're going, which are the events that are going to make my TSDB, my time series database, going to grow with, like number of customers, number of client IDs, number of requests, number of microservices, whatever. Yes, everyone here? Do you need a coffee or something, a break? Do you know the end of the film? Yeah. Now you know that Jack could fit in the lock? Yeah, right? Just dropping some labels. You out of the log. Okay. So let's start. Vamos, Pame. Let's do something, a bit more of my paint skills. This is what you should be doing, right? You have your observability platform, and you have to identify what metrics are used. You have several tools to do that. You have Mimir tool, thanks to Grafana. You have Prom tool, based in an amazing set of PromQL queries. Yoo-hoo. And that's how you know where the metrics are used, if they are in an alert, if they are in a recording rule, if they are in dashboards, or whatever. And we analyze that. And that's continuously. You have to do all the time, right? Because this can happen. I told you before, like the set, you have here the metric name, you have the label name, and you have the label values, and you have everything that is increasing. You have an exponential growth of your system there, and you have high cardinality. And most of them, you're not going to use them. It's like, am I going to filter or do any alert on the instance, for example? Maybe not. How do we solve it then? Downsampling. And that's what I was telling you before. The experiment of seconds and experiment of minutes. Sometimes your metrics, you don't want to have a granularity of milliseconds. If you are going to paint it, or if you are going to visibility, your visibility is of 1 minute. Well, do you want 1,000 data points there if you are taking just one out of it? Or you are aggregating and summing and doing an average or doing whatever you want with the data. Maybe you just want one. So the CTO, please just, again. So you can downsampling, for example. Usually, Prometheus script interval, by default, it's 15 seconds. So you have 4 data points per minute. If you just want one, because you are just measuring the minute of your or hour, you can just drop 3 values. So how much are you reducing that? 75% of the cardinality. There you have. I did my job. Just pay me for it. Easy, right? Really easy. And then if you need more data sampling because you have a campaign, that's something that we do, for example, that we have like campaigns in Christmas, we have the campaign in Black Friday, we have campaigns in summer, then you just increase your sampling. You go to 4 data points again because you want more granularity, you want to have more traceability, you want to have more insights on your data, so you just increase it. But for those days, I'm not going to use the downsampling, the minute, the second, every single day. I'm just using it for the campaigns. So why are you paying that much all the time? You just boop, boop. It's a slider. I love sliders. More pods, less pods. So that's downsampling, and it's straightforward. You reduce the cost straightforward with downsampling, right? Of course, you need to do tests. That's why you have a performance engineer in the team. I love histograms, right? I love the latency buckets. I love them. It's one of the things I love them, and I hate them. That's what happens usually when you love something too much. You have these histograms of latency with all your less equal is than 1 second, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, something like that, and you create different values in the time metrics, and your time metrics are reproducing like cockroaches. And you say, okay, my SLO is 100 milliseconds. Why do I have metrics for 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 5? Maybe I want just to waste time, money, storage, whatever. I just need the one of or the one that I need, actually, the one I'm looking into, that is the SLO, the one SLA, the SLO that I'm measuring, actually, and not all of them, all the others. So I have to cut the wings to my histograms, and my love to them is decreasing exponentially. So look at your buckets. It's like you have the bucket, what I was saying before, the HCD latency, for example, is something that you're not going to look into. Never. Believe me. Never. Never. Nunca. Nichts. Nie. Never. You can do something that it's like, well, some people will look into you, look at you and will say, really, my service is really important. Oh, you are putting like one color of, yeah, but it's important. Yeah, of course, but I'm not gonna say anything. Request classification, right? Of course, there are like metrics you have to look constantly with granularity, latency, errors, HTTP errors, out of memory, whatever metrics that you want, memory, the CPU, whatever that you want, metrics. There are some others that is like, do I need latency everywhere in my TCP? Like I want in the service mesh, in the ingress, in the API server, in the, that's what happens when you tremble. So you have to classify. This is like the granularity of this. That is the one that I look into it, the HTTP request latency. I need this one. I look into it constantly. I have it in the dashboard. I need it. The alert is on it. The granularity is going to be fine. It's going to be a fine granularity. So I will have, every 15 seconds, I will have one data sample of it. But the HCD latency is like, well, if the kubelet, I cannot do anything. So let's put something else. I don't mind the granularity of that, and I put 1 minute, okay? So there's a classification there. I need the metrics of my home, of the home page of my service. I need it in the fine granularity. But the one that is going to do, I don't know, whatever, edge case of, do I need that per second? Maybe there's only one hit per minute. There's one user per hour. Do I need a granularity of 1 second if I have one user per hour? Or maybe you miss it. It's clicking in the same second. Maybe. So you do a request classification and you drop the labels and the values and the metrics that are not required in your day-to-day basis. The same, you can reduce labels, not only by dropping them. Dropping them is the easiest way, right? You just drop them, it's okay. But that's, maybe you have to get paid for a bit more of work. You have to work a bit more. Maybe you have to label filtering and aggregating. That, okay, this label I'm going to filter in the values that I'm going to use. And maybe I can aggregate these values, like the latency, for example. If I have an histogram, I don't need the less equal than, but I can do the operation outside, and then I can just do statistics and magic and lines, and I can show something. And not having it in a time metric, in a time series metric as a value, because it's going to increase the cardinality. So you have to do a bit more of work, like an operation on a PromQL. Oof, a lot of work. Pay me for it. It's what we do. And a bit of code. You thought that you were going to miss this part, right? This is not code. This is, well, this is something. So what I was saying, that you can drop, for example, the IP label. Remaining series in this one would be unique. You have the dev environment, the TST environment, the test environment, the prot environment, and you have a total of 18 metrics. But you can drop the IP because it's the same value, right? So in the first, if you remember the Grafana with the cardinality, you would see that that label only have one value. You can say, okay, I can aggregate it for it. Just imagine that you cannot drop the IP label because they are different and whatever, and you need them for whatever reason. Not going to ask you why you are going to need the IPs. So you will have 7. You have a number of TS, of time series in your database. You have a kind of cardinality. But if you don't need those, you can still drop them. They are different. But who filters by IP? I can do it. Or you can aggregate them with an operation. As I said, a PromQL operation. You can sum, you can do a count over time. You can do whatever you want as an operation, arithmetical operation there. And that's why platform engineers get paid. Sometimes. That's gonna say but yeah. So bye-bye to high cardinality. That's how you do it all the time. So summarizing, how long do I have? I don't know the time. Okay. Just tell me when you want me to stop. So yeah, I can go on and on. Yeah. So bye-bye high cardinality. But that's not something that you have forever. I don't have cardinality now. Everything is fine. I won't have this problem never again. Haha, you are wrong, my friend. In next payroll, you will have again high cardinality because you will have another service, another product that will put some metrics into it, and they will not follow the standards, and they will have new labels, and they will fuck your database. Yeah. So let's have it. And even if you are writing your best practices in Confluence, in Alfresco, they will put it anyway because they won't read the boundaries. Okay, that's cool. It's my job. I'm getting paid for that. I have my dashboard for it. I want my dashboard to have new problems. So yeah, so you will face it again. And you will have to ask your business guys, your STLs, your POs, why do you want that metric? Why you ask me the flame chart in my website, the clicking? Do you have it in Firebase or do you have it in Google Analytics? Why do you want me to put it in Grafana? Do you want to replicate data all over the place? Well, you can, of course, you can. It's not bad. But the cost, just ask your CFO if he allows it. So just remember, the more data is not better. So the experiment that we do with the noise, with the seconds, first that no one had seconds anymore, or milliseconds, so more data is not better. Sometimes it just produces noise. It makes your queries to go slow. And you are going to say, OK, I'm doing a troubleshooting. My system is down, and I have only a query that is taking 5 minutes to give me, well, nope. OK, so the more data is not better. You have to ask yourself and your stakeholders if that data is relevant, if that metric is relevant. Is something I'm going to need? Because someone said, I need the number of clicks in the application in the Grafana dashboard. OK. OK, you have it. But with 1 second in an application with 1 user per hour, something is wrong, my friend. Something else, don't manage your high cardinality metrics at micro level. Meaning, do a standard. If you want a bucket of latency of something, put it everywhere in all your microservices, okay? Because you want a traceability. If you have different microservices with different metrics, you are going to have like, oh, this one is measuring it in seconds, and this one in milliseconds, and this one is nanoseconds, and this one is in something else, and this one is measuring the ingress API latency, but this one is the API server, and this one is a notion. Where am I? So you do a standard all over the place. Okay, you get the metrics all over the place at the same. What we are measuring is more or less the same. Of course, every microservices will have their peculiarities, if that's a word in English. But of course, you will just try to have a traceability end-to-end, endpoint to endpoint, and saying everything more or less the same. So you get ubiquitous. So if you fix your labels in one microservice, and you are not fixing it everywhere, you still have the problem, my friend. You are just dropping one value there. Make observability a team effort. OK, I'm going to use 5 or 10 of those 15. So make observability a team effort. You have like different domains, disciplines, chapters, products all over the place, and everyone is doing whatever they want. But we all have to work together to have the observability, because observability is one point to another. The customer doesn't know. The customer doesn't know if he's in the checkout domain or in the checkout microservices. He knows that he's in Lidl Plus application. He doesn't care about who is getting which squad, which discipline, which blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's a team effort. It's all the whole company. What I said, the stakeholders are everyone. So business guys have their dashboards. Operational guys have their dashboards. The SREs have their dashboards. The platform engineering have their dashboards. So it's a team effort. And you have to create some kind of a standard just to follow the rules, just to know the playground, right? I'm playing with these boundaries. I know these constraints. This is what I'm going to work with, at least at the company level, the stakeholder level. Maybe I want some other metrics. I don't care about them. You have them. You play with them. But in company-wise, just to know the happiness of our users, we need these ones. And we are all going to follow the same rules. We are measuring in milliseconds. Okay, if we agree to that, we can measure in nanoseconds. But we all measure in something. Not we can have different measure types or whatever. Yeah, right? We are a team. A team? Okay. We are the orchestrate. We are the orchestration orchestra. We have to deal with the problems all the time. We have to be there. We are the observability team. We are the observability team. So we know when the data is growing. We know when we are going to have a problem. We know when we are going to need more MasterCard. We know all that kind of stuff. And we need to spread that information across the product teams. The product teams should focus on growing the product, on making the product, on developing the product, not on the cost of whatever or on the cost of observability. They need to know, but they don't need to deal with it. Okay? They need to have a guidance about it. So we are the ones that navigate the process of data growth. We are the ones that are there just playing the violin until the Titanic is sunken. And we keep playing. We keep playing because it's a continuous process. It's what I said. We have a new delivery. We have a new microservice. We have more customers. We have a Christmas campaign. And we will have an increase on time series, on metrics. Well, maybe not on metrics, on labels, on values on those labels. We will have more time series, and we will have to deal with it. We don't want the out-of-memory. Prometheus collector is out of memory, restarting, every single day. Or your storage is, or your influx is, okay? So you don't want that. And that's why Jack would fit in the log. Because if Titanic would have the correct number of boats for the cardinality that they had, he would be alive. Okay, so he would have fit in our logs, in our service of observability. And, in the end, it's a reality, right? Titanic sank, and a lot of people died there. But we learned something from it, and we have a marvelous film out of it as well. And we can use it for talking about metrics. This is strange. This occurs me in, I'm not going to say, but it was like, yeah, you know where. And that's it. So, estáis muy callados, ¿eh? No, bueno, estáis haciendo. So I think it's a Q&A time. It's 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes to ask me anything. Or I don't know if you want to ask me anything. If you don't want, we can have a coffee outside. And I will ask you for the HCD latency. Okay, thank you. So I don't think I said before, I work for Lidl Plus. We have an amazing Lidl Plus app. You have an amazing stand up there. We are recruiting people. So I don't know what else to say. You can just approach one of us. I don't have the T-shirt. I will have soon, I hope. Maybe not. I have to go home and get my T-shirt. But you can approach any of us and just ask questions about anything if you want. And we're done. No tiene voz.
No tengo boca.
Espera, que me ponga a tu lado.
Hola, hola. Sí, sí.
Me voy a ir. Hola, Álvaro, ¿qué tal?
Hola, Almu. Como siendo un equipo de plataforma, puedes asegurarte de que un equipo no se le vaya la cardinalidad de un día para otro. Te explico.
Vale.
Porque en una compañía X tuvimos un equipo que empezó a enviar los ID de los usuarios como tag. Y eso, el liver que se llevó Datadog en ese momento fue tremendo.
Fue guardo, fue unicornio.
Sí. Entonces, como plataforma puedes mantener un ojo que de un día para otro no se te vaya toda la mierda.
Okay, cool. I will get back. First, I will just translate. I'm going to translate the question in English, or in sort of English, broken English, and I'm going to try to find the answer to it. So he's asking, how do you, as a platform engineering team, whatever called, how do you realize that one of the squad product teams is increasing the number of cardinality? Yeah, you have the answer. But, and it's a great but. I wouldn't do that. So this dashboard shouldn't not be only part of the platform team, but the squad team. The squad team should have visibility of this. And to know, and to have an alert saying that your cardinality, because you're sending IPs, IPs, or client IDs, and you have all your cardinality there, and Datadog is getting your liver with Calimocho, there, or with gin tonics. Okay? Unicorn.
Que si cada equipo debería tener un dashboard como este.
Actually, that's one from one team. So every single team should have one dashboard like that. And the platform engineers guys are thanking me, right? Okay. We are suffering the same miseries.
Please, now with all the control budgets in IT after all this...
Espera, que no... Hello, Biggets.
With all the controls of the budgets and things like that, when do you recommend, because, we know that Datadog or, you had tons of millions you have to pay to them. When do you recommend it has to be internal or external, or you need a critical mass of your company to have
when
this
you need to move
because
from,
it looks very complex, Yeah,
when you move from, do you mean that when do you need to move from a commercial, from a cloud solution like Grafana Cloud or from Datadog or from Dynatrace to a built-in, hosted-in solution?
Yes, or there is a phase, or you can start, or what is your point of view of this?
My point of view. Once that you have once you have enough maturity to deal with this. It's not easy, it's what you said. It's not easy. You need a team to host it or to create it or to plan the infrastructure and to know the FinOps. You have to know a lot of stuff just to deal with this kind of solution built in-house. So Grafana Cloud, for example, I love Grafana Cloud. It's a great solution, right? But you pay it in unicorn blood, like Datadog or Dynatrace. Right now, we have both. We have a commercial one, Dynatrace, and we have our Grafana Stack Enterprise built in-house. We have both of them. We want to move from one to another, but sometimes you need both. When do you have to move? Once that you have created a proper team to deal with it. Once that you have spread the culture of observability in all your squad product teams. Once that observability is something that is not a check in a list, but it's something that the team requires, that I want to have insights of my business. When the PO says, I want to know what is happening in my business currently, and you create a Grafana dashboard for it, or you create a dashboard in Kibana or whatever, in Kibana or whatever, that you create one. That's when the team says that they need observability. That's one of the levers that you know that you can go to the observability in your in-house built-in. Maybe it's a bit abstract, but And when the cost is out of reach, of course, and your CTO said, stay in budget. That's usually when everything is rush, okay? When the money is out of reach, and how do we spend like 1,000 in observability platforms? Maybe we need a team for that.